That's DeWittDailyNews.com.
Matt Corso here, proud to now be a part of the Kaufman Realty and Auction team right here in Taylorville. Let my over 20 years of real estate and auction experience work for you. Click my icon at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com.
Your information station, WTIM.
Welcome in to WTIM, your information station. I'm Tim Zalabak, your host of the WTIM Morning Show. Thanks so much to the sponsors that make it possible, People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first, and Landmark of Taylorville, where you always do better with Landmark. On the phone line now, we have Illinois State Senator Steve McClure, representing the Illinois 54th District. How are you today, Senator?
I'm well, Tim.
Good, and really thank you so much for taking the time being here with us today. You've had a busy last week, and you're in for some more busy weeks coming up here. So it sounds like last week was the deadline for Senate bills. Tell us kind of what this means and what you were up to over there.
Sure. So last Friday, we had our deadline to pass out any bills that originate in the Senate. And so the House's deadline is this Friday, for bills that originate from the House. Now, despite those two deadlines, you can always get an extension for certain bills. So like I've got a bill that's up today in local government because the Senate president gave me an extension for that bill. So even though it is a deadline, you can get around it, but typically not too many bills get around it. So that means that last week was very busy for us, and this week will be very busy for the House. And then after this week, you're going to see lots of House bills that pass the House get voted on in the Senate, and vice versa. So we're kind of in the last part of session here. We've got this month and next month, and then after we get all these bills sorted out, we're going to have our state's budget and everything else. So it's a very busy time for all of us, and luckily I got 6 bills passed last week, and now I'm hoping to get this bill that's up in committee today passed, and that would bring my total to 7 bills. And then I've got a bill coming from the House. So, you know, I'm really trying to do my best to make sure that I pass good legislation. And so I'm really excited about this session.
Absolutely. That's Senator McClure right there. 6 bills already passed, and just a very impressive work. You mentioned that you did get an extension on one of your more local bills. What is the stipulations there that are the cause for getting an extension, and how are some extensions, not provided?
Well, the Senate Democrats have been much more bipartisan this year as far as letting Republican bills advance. And so I've got an issue with Shelby County, where the county board has told me that they need legislation statewide in order to provide benefits and services through a rescue squad in Shelby County. And so, it's one of those bills where I went up to the chair of local government. I explained to her what my issue is for my district, and she was happy to help me get that bill in local government today. So, when we're trying to pass bills that are constituent based, where a constituent comes to me and said, here's a problem, and maybe this will help other people in the state, or maybe this will help us locally, can you please try to fix this for me? That's kind of all the bills that I've gotten to pass this year. They're all constituent driven, and today is another example of that, where Shelby County needs something and they asked me for it, and luckily we're able to get it into committee today, and I think we're going to get it past the Senate. So a lot of people talk about how partisan it is right now, and it's very partisan, there's no question, but most of the time, 90 to 95% of all bills in the Senate and in the House are not partisan bills. They're bills that are, if you look at the vote totals, all of us vote for. And so to get some of those bills, with the help of my constituents who inspire me to file these bills because they bring me their stories, has been very fun to do this year. And again, you push aside the partisanship and you just kind of use common sense to get these bills through. And luckily, like I said, I'm having a lot of luck with my colleagues. They're willing to call my bills in committee, and we're getting a lot of things passed.
Yeah, it's really great to hear that some of these more constituent-driven bills are really being met with bipartisanship. It might surprise some people out there to hear that a lot of these do fall into that bipartisanship category right there. It's really good to hear that progress is being made. I want to get into some more of the other bills that you've been working on that you have been getting passed in these latest sessions here. I read a story recently about public knowledge locally of people laying down pesticides. People need to be in the know about this kind of stuff. Can you lay out that pesticide bill for us?
Absolutely. So this was another issue where a constituent came to me who lives in Chatham, Illinois, and they were, doing some yard work, and all of a sudden, the state of Illinois, IDOT, started going down the street on this right of way and just very excessively spraying pesticides. It was a group of workers there, and they were spraying it everywhere to the point where he witnessed kids getting sprayed while they were in the yard,
God.
and swimming pools that were open getting sprayed. And also, it was like bouncing off houses. And he goes up to them and he says, "What are you guys doing?" And they said, "Well, we're spraying." And he said, "Well, what are you spraying?" And they said, "We can't tell you." And he said, "You can't tell me? Who do you guys work for?" They said, "IDOT." He goes, "Well, you guys kind of like are a public part of our state government, and so you're not going to tell me what you're spraying in my property?" And he said, "No." So he called my office, and my assistant Lucinda did multiple phone calls to the Department of Transportation, and finally we got a hold of the list of what they were spraying, and it's stuff that no person should be near. I mean, it was stuff that according to IDOT, they said this pesticide cocktail could kill trees potentially.
Oh my God.
Okay, so this was like incredible, and so because of that, we decided to file legislation that makes it so that if the state or a local government is going to spray pesticides, they have to notify anyone that is within 200 feet of the right-of-way that they are spraying, if it's a residential area, that they're going to be spraying, what exactly they're going to be spraying, and they have to provide a number to call in case there are problems with the way that the spray is being laid out. So all the issues that my constituent had, what is this stuff? You're doing a bad job spraying it. Who do I call to report this? And when are you going to do this so we can make sure to cover our pools, make sure kids aren't playing in the yard, etc. All of those things are taken care of with this piece of legislation. And now it's in the House, and I saw it was just assigned to a committee in the House, and so hopefully we can get it through the House as well.
Wow, that's Senator McClure right there representing the 54th district here in Illinois. Speaking on one of the bills recently passed there, and unbelievable stipulations right there that you described. And I'm sure that when you read these off to the Senate and when you're preparing this got to feel like a slam dunk. This has got to feel like something everyone's going to go for. This has been happening. IDOT has been participating in this, and you kind of move into the Senate with some confidence in that bill specifically that this one should have the support it needs to get passed.
Well, you would think so, especially when you see the effect it has. I mean, like if you go through the manual that was talking about each of these chemicals that was a part of this cocktail, and some of them said, like, if any of this touches your skin, go seek medical help immediately.
Oh my God.
And yet this was hitting kids in a yard that were just playing.
Yeah. Going into pools.
Yeah, and going into pools and going onto people's houses and stuff on their porches and everything. And it's like, it really goes counter to what, property rights are in this state where, this is my private property. Don't spray stuff in my pool without my permission, And so it's a property rights issue and a health issue and just a absurd thing that the state of Illinois was doing. And so now we're going to hopefully curtail that in the future.
Yeah, I'm finding an intersection of issues right there and taking action for it. Unbelievable. A piece of legislation there. And Senator McClure, in our last 2 minutes here, I do want to speak more on some of your bills after our quick timeout here. But the deadline for House bills, that's this week, correct?
This Friday, yes.
Okay. And then kind of what's involved there? What's been, so things go from the Senate to the House and kind of the same operations there?
Same operation there. So that's all their House bills that start in the House. And so all of these are bills that I haven't seen before. And so we're going to see what passes come Friday. And then after that, like I said, after Friday, they'll start addressing Senate bills that go into the House. So the bills that you and I are speaking about, hopefully those will get a hearing and hopefully they'll pass the House.
Okay. And anything about these House bills? I know you said you haven't seen any of them yet, but any topics of conversation that are looking to be focused on by Friday?
Well, I'm watching because, Representative Mike Coffey has a bill that just passed yesterday that involves scholarships for veterans at U of I. And so that's a bill that he and I are working together on. That's another constituent issue. And so that just passed the House yesterday. So now I'm hoping to get that in the Senate right away. And hopefully I'll start working that and we can get that passed in the Senate as well. But a lot of bills are involving the use of plastic. A lot of bills are involving criminal procedure. And so there's just a whole host of bills. And so we're going to be, gearing up to deal with them after this week. But one of the things I do as the floor leader for the Senate is that I meet with the House Republican floor leader. And I'm the House floor leader the Senate floor leader for the Senate Republicans. So we meet and we talk about all these bills, which we'll be doing very soon.
Awesome. That's Senator Steve McClure, Illinois State Senator representing the 54th District. I'm Tim Zalabak, your host of the WTIM Morning Show. Don't go anywhere. We will have more from Senator McClure when we come back. You're listening to WTIM, your information station.
Your information station, WTIM.
Listen for Taylorville Tornado Baseball, Softball, and Little League games on New Country 104.1 and stream live on TaylorvilleDailyNews.com. You'll hear selected boys baseball, girls softball, and Little League games brought to you by
Kirby Real Estate, the Christian County YMCA, Brad Davis, your Edward Jones financial advisor, and Landmark, all in Taylorville.
The purple and gold are coming your way. The Taylorville Tornadoes are gonna do it today.
AGCO is proud to launch PTX, a new leading brand that aligns precision ag technologies, from precision planting and PTX Trimble. Two familiar brands with one common goal. Precision Planting and PTX Trimble know farming is easier when systems speak to each other. That's why they provide solutions that connect operations across the crop cycle to unlock visibility and flexibility, regardless of equipment color. Through automation, guidance, and upgrades for every season, PTX is your solution for precision ag technology, empowering you to be more efficient, more accurate, and make agronomic decisions with confidence. You'll find a local dealer network that provides expert knowledge and support for every season. As you focus on maximizing yield, they'll provide reliable service, education, and access to tools that strengthen your inputs. Innovative brands you trust, powerfully simple, seamlessly compatible. PTX. Visit ptxag.com to learn more.
I'm Jeff Grimmett, Assistant Vice President at People's Bank and Trust in Taylorville. People's Bank and Trust is proud to sponsor Taylorville Junior High School Students of the Month on all of the WTIM platforms.
I'm Drake Hoy, the 6th grade student of the month. My parents are Brandy Hoy and Doug Hoy. School subjects I enjoy include math, science, and social studies. This year at TJHS, I'm involved in basketball and football. After high school, I'm considering playing in the NFL as a career. Fun fact is that I ride four-wheelers and I fish a lot.
Congratulations to these students on this honor from People's Bank and Trust. We put people first every day at People's Bank and Trust. Member FDIC.
This is Jenny Turvey, manager of Rolling Meadows Senior Living in Taylorville. To learn more about our apartments, click on our icon at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com.
Jansen's Heating and Air is the home of Dr. Comfort, focusing on customer care for heating and air conditioning across Central Illinois for some 35 years. Find out their services, specials, and coupons by clicking their icon on TaylorvilleDailyNews.com.
Your information station, WTIM.
Welcome back to WTIM, your information station. I'm Tim Zalabak, your host of the WTIM Morning Show. Thanks so much to the sponsors that make it all possible. People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first, and Landmark of Taylorville, where you always do better at Landmark. We're speaking with Illinois State Senator Steve McClure. He represents the Illinois 54th District. And we just recently learned in that first half there, our State Senator Steve McClure recognized that he was the Republican Senate floor leader. And we really wanted to speak a little bit on that here in this second half. As the Republican Senate floor leader, Senator McClure, what kind of responsibilities does that give you?
So I have to be ready to speak on any bill that comes to the floor of the Senate, and I have to help organize sort of our strategy for speaking against bills and in support of bills. So if you've got like a very high-profile bill that we're all against, I've got to try to figure out who's going to speak, when they're going to speak, kind of what they're going to say, and organize it all. And then sometimes our staff will come up to us and say, "Hey, Senator, there's this issue with this bill that nobody's thought about before, and you got to say something quickly." And so sometimes I get like a sheet of paper that says about 2 lines on it about a very complicated bill.
Oh.
I just have to press my button, stand up, and ask some questions and start speaking on it. So it's kind of exhilarating to do it, and I enjoy it just because of I'm a lawyer by trade, and I'm used to speaking in court and presenting arguments, and it's been enjoyable doing it and rewarding, and but also sometimes frustrating because some of these bills do frustrate me, but we got to give our best arguments against them, and then many of them pass anyway. But we've got to give the counter argument to these bills, and lots of times when you'll see the press clippings about certain bills that pass, you'll see the person who sponsored the bill and why they think it's a good bill. But then you'll see the counter argument from our side. And so that's important to be in the paper as well.
Yeah, without a doubt. You got to have both sides there, and it's you that's providing that. You're kind of a coordinator, but also the spokesperson, as you mentioned, on many of these bills that might only have 1 or 2 sentences. Explain to me how you're trying to drive the vision and the focus of the Republican Party while only having 2 lines to work with there. You said it might be a little bit difficult, but I mean that's your job over there as the Republican Senate floor leader. You said it kind of makes you excited. You find that still?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it keeps me on my toes. I've got to be ready. I've got to be on the floor, ready to go. And I've been doing this now for since last January, and it's been a growing experience. Before that, for 2 years, I was the assistant floor leader, and it's been fun. And I've killed more bills than any other Republican in my time in the state Senate. And I've also, I've given a speech before on the floor against one of Governor Pritzker's appointments. And after my speech, the appointment was voted down. So we've had success on the floor. And I think it's really important when you're trying to present your caucus's side of the argument to be truthful, to be honest, and not to go over the top with your language. And I think that maybe early on, I probably got so animated when I was assistant floor leader that I would, maybe use language that was probably a little bit too much for the bill. But these days, I've really kind of grown into the position, and I feel that we try to do, in a reasonable way, arguments against bills and in support of bills as well. And it's just I just feel much more comfortable with the position now, and I enjoy doing it.
That's amazing. And I can totally see how, gaining that experience of the influential position and the responsibilities of that position, it's going to take some time there. We're speaking with Illinois State Senator Steve McClure. And Senator McClure, in our last 2 minutes here, I wanted to run through at least one more of the bills that you got passed recently. What comes to mind? We've already talked pesticides, but what else has a constituent brought to you recently that you got passed?
Well, one of the issues we had was a horrible accident in Teutopolis, and what happened there was a vehicle with hazardous materials crashed. There was a multiple car accident, and a vehicle with hazardous materials crashed. And some people from Effingham County came to me and they said, we don't teach in driver's ed students about hazardous materials that are in vehicles. Wow. And you've got these special placards that trucks have that identify them as having certain materials in them. And so we looked it up, and we went through the rules of the road book from the Secretary of State's office, and it's nowhere to be found. And so so one of the bills that I filed that passed the Senate is a bill that makes it so that in the Secretary of State's rules of the road book that all of us have to look at before we take the wheel at the age of 16, it will have those placards and what they mean, because students need to know that when you're driving and you see one of these vehicles, a minor fender bender could be a extremely deadly crash because of these hazardous materials. So this will teach students in driver's ed about these hazardous materials that they could encounter on the road, and also put in the rules of the road book for the Secretary of State's office. So that was another bill brought to me by constituents.
Wow, yet another piece of important legislation and almost creative right there, the way you guys dug down into that and found out the problems and brought it to the Senate floor. Unbelievable information you provided us with today, Senator. I really appreciate you for taking the time and being here with us.
Thanks, Tim. I enjoyed it.
Without a doubt, and I appreciate that. That's Illinois State Senator Steve McClure representing the Illinois 54th District. We always appreciate his time. This has been Tim Zalabak here on WTIM, your information station. The WTIM Morning Show will get going back here in just a little bit. You're listening to WTIM, your information station.
The Big 870 WTIM Assumption Taylorville, 96.1 W241 CF Taylorville, 107.5